Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Julie.
So now we're going to do a review of Keep the Heroes Out, a dungeon defense game for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 40 minutes, which I think takes more, definitely with more players. Ages 14 and up, although you can play with younger players because that's done for regulation purposes. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out our How to Play and Playthrough with the first one-shot mission. And then that was on easy mode. And then we did another video on hardcore mode, which you can see was what was left of it before we lost. So let's take a look at what you're doing in this game. You are playing monsters, different clans, that are in control of a dungeon, and the heroes are trying to take the treasure. And if they get your 4 treasure, which they were able to run in and do, you lose the game. Now, how do you win? Well, you got to go through the deck of heroes and scenario cards twice. So we did get through the deck one time, and then when we flipped it over, they ran through. They were able to get through these 3 rooms real quick. And I'll explain how that happens. And for us to lose. So in the easy mode, 1 card will be drawn. Now this shows 2, because in the hardcore mode, the heroes will draw 2 cards every round. And then 3 in the next round. So what's a round? Well, you go through the deck once, and then you shuffle up and you go through the deck again. On easy mode, which I'll show you on the back here of the scenario booklet, the heroes will only draw 1 guild card, that's what they're called. And then when you go through the deck once, they'll draw 2. And on challenge, it will be 2 and 2. And we tried hardcore just to show players that this game can be difficult if you want to make it that way. It's 2, then 3 cards. So what are some of the clans that you can play? Well, Julie was playing the lizard folk, and they specialize in ranged attack. So this card, for instance, you can either do the left side or the right side. So all lizard folk in one room can fire an arrow into an adjacent room and take out the heroes. And this says that she can spawn one of her lizard folk in the room with the eye. Now, these are only showing half boards to try to fit it in here. They're actually full boards, okay? But each room has different symbols on it. Like here are the 2 eyes. Here are the rooms with the crossbones. Here the cross swords are right here, and the hats. And this will show where heroes will be summoned. So, for instance, you'll get a wizard in each of the crossbone rooms, and when they summon, they get a special ability. So the rogue, for instance, when the rogue appears, the rogue can disarm 1 trap, and we're able to place traps to try to slow down the heroes. But when the rogue appears in a room, she'll take out a trap. The warrior, when the warrior appears, the warrior takes resources. And so the resources we can use are coins, bones, frogs, and books. And we can use actions to get these resources. Here you can get a book, but then you can spend that book right here to get a scroll and add it to your deck. Here you can get a trap, and you can carry 1 resource per monster that you have. So I'm playing the Ratkin. Here is a cell. I'll explain that in a minute. You can get coins here, and then spend those coins to get equipment. Here you can get bones and spend them here to get beasts. And beasts, all these cards go in your deck, and they add to give you more abilities. Excuse me. So the archer, when the archer appears, say the archer appears right here, it will fire into 1 adjacent room closest to where the 4 chest is. So Julie would lose her lizardkin unless she has a spell to not a spell, but a card to defend the damage. Say she didn't, she loses it, and then it gets its regular attack. So then she would lose another person. So the heroes can do a lot of damage. Now they'll stop in rooms with chests. So if let's say they were generated here, there was already a wizard here, a mage, and the archer came up. Well, the archer would still fire into the other room, take out this lizardkin, inspire the mage. So when it does an attack, not its summoning ability, it exhausts itself and the mage would have been inspired to stand up. Oh, there was a trap in here. So it would have, actually, when it spawned, it would have been killed. So you got to keep an eye on those things. So the archer would have been killed when it was spawned, and the mage would not have been inspired. But let's say that trap wasn't there, and that this did take place. Now, you need 3 unexhausted heroes to reveal, to plunder this chest. The archer exhausted itself attacking the lizard in this room. It did its summoning ability on that one, so Julie would have lost 2 lizardkin if that archer was spawned here. The mage can't do anything. There's no monster to attack, so it waits, exhausts itself, waiting for a 3rd hero to get in there and plunder that 3 chest. And then when another hero does come in there, see that mage does get spawned here, it inspires the other heroes in that room. Now they can plunder the chest, and this means that a hero will be put into the cell that you draw from the deck. Now, what are the cells? You can push your luck in this game a little bit and draw from the deck, and you can put a... I haven't... Now I can see why it's not working. Let's say you can put heroes in cells to get 3 more cards, but they can, if you get too many heroes in the cells, they can run out and then get to your treasure room. So let's say the mage, see, that's the one you don't want to spawn in the cell. So Julie will get 3 more cards. Let's say she did that. She get these. Oh, wrong deck.
Wrong deck.
Yeah, that was nice, drawn from the loot deck.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so she get 3 more cards, drawing from there. But now the mage appears in this room. I'm just going to take it from here.
Okay.
The mage is able to break people out of the cell. So now you have the rogue who was trapped there from a previous turn. Now they're activated. Let's say my ratkin wasn't here. Now they can open this chest, and that says they can steal things. So now they've exhausted that chest, and they're that much closer to going into this room. So you can put heroes in the cells to get cards, but then they can break out. Now you can defeat them while they're in the cells. So if you want to know just how the basic cards work, this is my ratkin card. I start out with 4. I actually have 9 ratkin that I can put into the dungeon, but I start out with 4, and I can put them divide them up into into the 2 hat rooms as I want. I could put 4 and 1. I could put 2 and 2 or 1 and 3. I have 9 ratkin. Each has 1 health, and I start out with 10 cards. Now this is my special ability. I can use an action to put another ratkin in the dungeon. And that's, you're basically, you're going to be using your cards to run around, try to prevent the heroes from getting into your treasure room, adding loot to your deck. And then after you're done with your turn, you'll draw 5 more cards because you could get cards to defend when the heroes come out. So that's the nice thing is you'll have 5 cards, and if you have any defense cards, you could use them to prevent the heroes from taking out your clans. Now, the other ones that you have here, you have Witch Clan, Ghosts, Imps, which can lay traps. Julie likes placing that. You have the Dragon, very nice. The Dragon has 6, or is it 5 health?
5, I think.
Yeah, 5 health, yeah. 5 health. You have gnolls, skeletons, and slimes. They all have different numbers and different abilities. Like Ghosts can go through walls. I said Imps can lay traps. Gnolls have 2 life. The skeletons are really good at getting beasts because they can use an action to get a bone, and then if they have a bone, they can go in here and get beasts really quick. Mm-hmm. So when you have the game, there's a lot of variety in the game. You can play one-shots, you can play chronicles, which is like a little campaigns. You play them in groups of 4. So there are 20 scenarios. You can just play them one-shots, but I hear you play a certain 4 here, a certain 4 here, and you get a bonus if you defeat them in order. Here's the first one that you do, which is a Witch's Cauldron. You see the setup here for the Off With Their Heads, where there's special cards, scenario cards. So you have a whole deck here of scenario cards that you put in with the guild cards that are numbered from 1 through 20. So here are the 2 witches. In the first scenario, if you don't have a frog in the cauldron room, she makes you lose a card because she's your landlord, and she wants to. She needs frogs for her stew, and if you don't have a frog for her when her card comes up, you lose a card. Now what the executioner does, there's 3 of him in here. He makes heroes go to the cell. The problem is, if you're not, you can get too many heroes in the cell, and then they can run out, break out, and get to your treasure room. So you got to watch out for that. So a lot of variety in the scenarios and all of the clans that you can play. The other thing I didn't mention is that there are, again, variety of chess. There is also portals. So portals, if you use an action, you can activate them. And then where the other portal is, they're adjacent. So you can use one action to move from this room to this room. And then you can even place more portals using scrolls, or some clans have that ability to place portals with their cards. Okay, so that's a quick little overview.
That was a very quick overview. Good job, honey.
Oh, thank you. And then there is an expansion with this where you can play the Cthulhu clan, which we haven't tried yet.
We have to try that.
There's also another expansion where you can play this with Game Master mode, which we'll do on camera someday soon, where one versus all. But we like playing the cooperative one.
Yes, I very much. I think I'll lose if we do that one.
Well, I forgot to mention that this is cooperative. So let's take a look at
our pluses and minuses and neutrals, and then we will show you what we rated it on the BGG scale.
Okay, so here we go. I'm
first. All right, this is a very fun cooperative deck building game. The art is so cute. I couldn't think of what these things were called, but on the cards, on the...
Well, the dungeon tiles.
Dungeon tiles, thank you. It's just really fun, bright, silly art. It's just great. It's not scary, so kids will love it. The pieces are bright, they're chunky, they're fun to hold, they're fun to move around. I mean, they're just so darn cute. I mean, show them the slime.
Yeah,
the slime is
very
just
cute.
So cute. Who wouldn't want to be slime?
Here's
Come on.
the imps. They look a little bit like
little pigs.
Yeah.
No, you know what they look like? Stitch.
Yeah, Stitch. And if I show you the here are the nulls.
Yeah. I mean, look how funny that is. It's really, whoever did the art did an amazing job.
Here's a skeleton doing a little dance. I'll show a couple others here.
Excuse me.
Why don't you have a drink? Here are the slimes. So the slimes absorb things like gelatinous cubes. And then let me show you. Here's another imp thing. Yeah. So very fun. Oh, then here's the dragon.
Oh yeah, show the dragon. Dragon's cute.
Yeah, so well done with that.
So, back to me. I think the playtime with just 2 players is great. Once you know what you're doing, it goes very quickly. In the beginning, it's slow because, you're learning how to play, but once you get it down, it's great.
Yeah, with 2 players, you can do it in 40 minutes when you know the game system.
When you know the game system. My only neutral was that we did play this with our youngest son, David Jr., and there was some downtime. And, I caught myself getting on my phone and looking at things. David was on his phone because you're not really interacting a lot when there's a lot of players. So
well, you can help each other.
You can help each other, but it's just, I don't know. I just found it to be some downtime.
There becomes more analysis. Mm-hmm. With 2 players, you don't mind waiting for the other person to figure out what they're going to do. But with 3 players, you're definitely going to be waiting.
Yeah. So if you don't mind waiting, it won't be a big deal to you. But if you want like the go type of playtime, then just keep in mind that more players you won't get that.
It won't be 40 minutes with more players.
No,
that's for sure.
Not at all.
And with 4 players, I don't think I'd play this with 4 players.
No.
Because it would be too slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain in mine what can happen as well with 4 players. All right, so it's highly engaging, cooperative, asymmetrical. In other words, your clans, every monster clan is different, and we've played about 6 of them, and they're fun to pick. Now, when we did this on hardcore mode, we did different monsters on purpose, just to show the audience what's available, but we would have liked to have played the dragon and the imp on this one.
Yeah.
Because the dragon would have been able to absorb more damage, and the imps would have laid a lot more traps. So we like playing those two.
Definitely.
And it probably would have worked better for this one.
Yeah.
But it's deck building defense game, and it's fun. This is very fun, and that will be reflected in our rating. As Julie said, quality pieces and thematic art. It's just light enough. You didn't have to make it, so serious looking. It's better that it's lighthearted. It's highly replayable with difficulty options. I showed at the very beginning how there's the easy mode.
Hardcore.
Well, what's the challenge mode? I just want to make sure. Yeah, it's called family mode, challenging mode, and hardcore mode, which is great. Because if you're not very experienced with these games, you just play the family mode for a while. And then you have the different clans, as I mentioned, the modular boards. In scenarios, you can play, as you saw, you can play one shot or the chronicle modes. We haven't tried that yet, where you play it as like little mini campaigns. So it's a nice balance of chaos and options to reduce alpha gaming group solo play. What that means is that in some games that are cooperative, there'll be one player that's like, you got to do this or we're going to lose. There's enough going on in this game where you have enough options that you can do this or this and still not feel like you're going to lose if you don't do something. And because you can get unpredictability with the deck, some people might not like that you can get, it could be too chaotic, but the chaos works in its favor this time, because then when you're playing a cooperative game, you're not too worried then that, it becomes predictable. Like if you play Pandemic enough, you know what you got to do certain times. And that leads us to more alpha gaming. Whereas this is you have enough flexibility where you don't feel like you have to tell the other player, you must do this. Now, when they're getting close to the treasure room, everybody's going to agree you got to do something. But where you use your cards in other places, or what loot you go for, there's enough flexibility there. So it reminds me of Flashpoint, the fireman game, where you're putting out fires, and do I rescue somebody? Do I put out the fires? Do I take care of the propane tanks? It gives enough options where you can choose any of those, and you don't feel like you're going to lose if you don't. Yeah. Or just like in this game, you don't feel like you're going to lose if you go one path or the other. So it's a neutral in the 4-player mode. Number of turns and downtime. You would have to be really in the mood or play with some very experienced players to play quick enough. Now, there is a 5-6-player mode that they offer. But what can happen, and I can see in the 4-player mode, if you are playing the version here, the hardcore mode, and if you take a sell action to get more cards every turn, this is how quickly it will go. Julie will get 3 cards, okay? Our son David, and then I. And there's only 19 cards in here. So next turn, that's if we're taking sell actions to get extra cards. So right there now, we've only had 2 turns each. Julie does this, and now we're going to shuffle it up. So Julie's had 3 actions. Now we're on this part the second phase, and we're getting 3 actions. David's going to get, because we're doing sell actions, 4. Now we each have had 3 actions. Julie has a fourth action there. Okay, David, fourth action. So we're only going to have maybe 4 actions when you're playing hardcore mode. Now, if you're playing with 4 players, imagine you might only get 2 or 3 actions. Yeah. Now, there is some, the designer and people on BGG have offered some adjustments. Oh, okay. Some variants that maybe you just draw less cards, and maybe you also get less cards. I don't. So with higher player counts, you're not going to get as many turns, and then therefore you're not going to get a chance to build your deck as much and use these cards. True. So that's why, geez, with 5 or 6 players, you would burn through that deck so fast. So quick. Unless you don't draw as many cards and you do a variant. Or you don't put people in jail. But as a 2-player game, this is really good. Why don't you have a drink, honey? And then I'm good. With 3 players, yeah, we'll play with 3 players. Yeah. But I don't know if I would play this with 4 players. Now, the rule book is challenging because just to set up alone was hard to get over. And when you're trying to set up a game for the first time, look what you got to do. And I mentioned this in the how to play. Yes, you did. So you got to look at this here for the scenario, okay? And then you got to look at here, these pages this gives a narrative of how to set it up, but there's no one page that shows it set up with all the pieces around with it labeled. So that can make it very abstract. There's not enough context. So this would be very challenging. And then certain key rules are buried in place. Yeah, it's highlighted. In fact, even what you're supposed to do, the game overview, is kind of buried in different places about how you win.
Oh, wow.
You read all this first before you find out how you win or lose. Okay, so that's not a good thing to do.
No.
And this is based on my dissertation. Okay, this is a thing, and what on my research of what BGG users want as well. But so one rule we were playing wrong, and they didn't. It was kind of, again, it's mentioned, but it's buried. You got to really pay attention when you're playing. When you use these cards, we were playing at first that you have to assign that card to one of your creatures, and that creature would move and take an action. No, when you play a card, you can have one creature in one room move and one creature in a different room take an action if you want to. So we weren't doing that right. No, it does have a helpful sequence of player turn example here. That was good to do that. But you got to be able to get through the rules to that point to understand it. So now you have the reference charts. There's a lot of icons. And again, experienced gamer will be able to apply those icons to the different ways that they can come up on cards. So it gives this example here that you draw 3 cards, and if you draw a, here I'll show the other camera. If you draw 3 cards and you get a melee attack option, you get to keep those cards and the rest are discarded. Well, that's great, but what about someone who's inexperienced at knowing that you're going to see cards here with boots on it, or with actions, symbols. So an inexperienced gamer might not be able to extrapolate that this symbol can be applied to other symbols here on the right. So it does give examples here, but there's other situations that can come up. Like this says here, if you successfully do a melee attack, you can place one of your clan. But there's also going to be other symbols here will be to the right. So again, you have to be able to extrapolate that. And then getting used to how the hero's invasion works. For instance, we didn't realize that when a hero is summoned in the cell, they get their summoning action. We thought they just get trapped and they don't do it. We figured out that they do. But here's a flow chart. And my research also talks about how flow charts are only helpful for people who know how to read flow charts. Not everybody grew up knowing how to read these. And this can be difficult for some people. So it will be challenging for inexperienced, which is a shame because this game is simple enough for people who are used to playing Carcassonne and Settlers of Catan and Ticket to Ride. Once they've gotten used to those games and Pandemic, if they can handle those 4 games, they can definitely handle this game. But because the rule book is a challenge, they might not be able to get through it. They'll probably have to watch videos. Okay. So that's just there's things that, it's too bad because there's things that could have been done, easy fixes that could have been done if they would have consulted with people like me or others in the industry would have given recommendations. And it's going to affect sales because this game is easy enough. I mean, I could see families who are who are getting into the hobby would love this game.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's get to our review.
Okay.
I mean, our rating, I should say. So what'd you give it, honey?
9.5.
9.5. I said a 9 only because I'm a little concerned about higher player counts and if you have to come up with some variant, which has been talked about already on the BGG forums.
Ah.
And we've already played this 8 times. So yes, it's definitely a 9. No, I could see it going to a 10, but that's the only thing I worry about. For you and I, we'll be playing this for a long time.
Definitely.
But if I want to show this to other players, I could see us kind of sitting around the table just waiting.
Yeah.
Now you can give suggestions, but you don't want to do that.
No, you want the player to be independent.
Right.
I guess that's why I did it at 9.5 because I can be very independent with this. I mean, I do sometimes get a little confused, and I do ask David, again, clarity on the cards. But for the most part, I decide on my own what I'm going to play and how I'm going to do things. And that's really fun for me because a lot of times in cooperative games, I do kind of sit back a little bit, and David does become the alpha player. And this one, I am strong enough to
Yeah.
do it on my own, and I think that's why I was so proud of myself. I rated it a 9.5.
Well, yeah, because it's like Flashpoint. Flashpoint is probably our favorite cooperative game, but this might be inching it out.
I think, yeah, it's close.
Just because of the theme. See, Flashpoint, when you play that game, it can take a little while to set up. This one is pretty easy to set up compared to Flashpoint, because every time you set up one of the boards in Flashpoint, there's special rules you got to read, and then you got to adjust yourself to those rules. Whereas this, very, very straight ahead. The only special rules you're going to have are with the scenario cards you put in, like here with the Executioner. Okay, but when you play a game like Flashpoint, it's like, oh, you got to worry about how does the elevator work, or how does the walls work, or you're on the submarine. How does you deal with fires, and then when you're playing different characters, sometimes you got to figure out what's going on. I'm not saying Flashpoint is difficult, but I think this is easier to get to the table than Flashpoint.
I think so too, and I'm not going to lie. I think the art is just so much fun that I personally would rather look at these cute cards
I agree
than a fire.
Yeah, that's one thing too. Flashpoint is so realistic that you kind of know what you're doing there.
This just kind of takes you out of, the bad things you're hearing on the news or work or whatever. This just takes you in a whole nother place, and you forget about everything.
Well,
and it's awesome.
And having been a video game designer back in the late 80s, early 90s, when we were doing 2D games, overhead games, this is very much an arcade game to me.
Okay.
The kind that I would have liked to have played on the computer, where even if it was turn-based. In fact, this would make a great turn-based game to even be played on your phone. Which maybe they were inspired by that. I don't know if they were, but if they haven't looked into adapting it, they should, because it would be really easy to do an app where you program it, you select your card, and then you select. You could.
Yeah.
So hopefully they have the funds to do that, because I think it would do.
I'd play it
as a mobile app-based game.
Yeah, or play it on your Surface Pro or your iPad.
Yeah. Exactly. But right now this is a big surprise for us. We backed this, didn't know how good it was going to be. I knew it looked cute. We were willing to try it, and it turned out to be, this would be definitely a top 100 game for us.
Oh, yes.
And it'd probably be, even lower.
It'd be way up there.
And a top 10 cooperative game for us, too.
Definitely. It's really fun, you guys. I'm telling you, if you can see it and find it, and you like these cooperative kind of games, get it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks so much, you guys. We hope you have a wonderful day. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. We do appreciate all of you doing that. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.